What's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are as excited as I am today because I'm getting ready to share a really delicious recipe or recipes with you guys. You guys have been requesting a 7 curry video. For anybody who's eaten 7 curry or made 7 curry before, you know that that is not an easy task to do by yourself. So I waited until I had the right kind of people around. I had Auntie Chitra today, Auntie Chandra, and Auntie Kanita, and whether it was washing dishes, helping cook the food, helping prep the veggies, whatever it was, they helped and we ended up with a delicious spread and what Guyanese people classically know as 7 curry. Now, a lot of you guys that are gonna watch this video, some of you, especially in Guyana, you're gonna be like, that's not part of our 7 curry. So 7 curry is basically a broad term used by Guyanese people to refer to 7 different vegetarian dishes that is made at pujas or jandis, Hindu weddings, or different Hindu holidays. So depending on where you're from in Guyana, depending on what family you hail from, or just depending on the way that you like to cook your food, some of the things that we made might not be part of your 7 curry. You might have other things in there. So in today's video, we're making some aloo curry or potato curry, pumpkin, some bhaji or spinach, some dal, katahar. We also made some soy chunks or bunjal soy chunks, and we also made some mango curry. Now, you guys are gonna see throughout this entire video how we put it together. I'm not going super step by step with everything, just giving you a quick overview because I have all of these recipes on my channel. So if you check in the description box below this video, you'll see the links to every video and you can watch them step by step. And you know, being that it's in the Navratri season, we had to make some lapsi and puri, you know, maybe a little parsad and some pera. So we made all of these things, we sat down, we ate this delicious food, and I cannot wait for you guys to check it out and maybe get in your kitchen and make some 7 curry of your own. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so we're starting off with the pera. Auntie Chitra put the milk in the pot already, and she's putting the sugar in the can. So basically the measurement for the pera is 1 can of milk to 1 can of sugar. All you have to do is dump it in the can and that's your easy measurement right there. So once she gets that last bit of sugar in here, we're just going to stir it up and keep on stirring until it's nice and thick, and we can roll them into balls. So the pera mixture has been boiling for about 20 minutes at this point, and as you guys can see, it's getting really thick. Auntie Chitra actually switched to a metal spoon. You can also use a wooden spoon if you wanted to. It might be easy for you just depending on how you like to stir your pot. But she's going to keep on stirring, and how much longer do you think it has?
Another 20.
Another 20 minutes until it gets a little harder.
Thick, yeah.
So Auntie Chitra has a couple of tips for you guys. The first tip here is once you see that the pera starts to get nice and thick like this and it's glossy, and as you guys can see it's leaving the sides of the pot a little bit, you can drop just a little bit in a bowl of cold water and see how it's forming. So if it forms like this and it's in a soft ball stage, then you know it's done. And also she recommends using a ice cream scoop, so this way you can scoop it out instead of burning your hands and trying to roll them out like the traditional method is used. But this is for the most part done, and we'll just show you guys how we roll them out. Now once you see that your pera gets thick in the pot and you drop a little bit in the water and it forms into a ball, you can start to scoop it out onto a piece of parchment paper that you have lightly greased. Now once you put it onto the parchment paper and it starts to harden up just a little bit, you can go back in with your hands after it cools off a bit and you can start to roll them up, and then you'll have your pera ready to serve.
And you don't have to make them this size. You can make them smaller.
Yeah, you can make them as small or as big.
But who likes a small piece of pera? Nobody.
So one of the things that we're going to be making today is pumpkin. So we're going to use butternut squash today. All I'm doing is taking these butternut squashes that we have, cutting them into pieces, and then I'll peel it and then I'll chop it up into smaller pieces so we can actually cook it. And I'm going to go ahead and scrape out the seeds from that in a second. But look how nice and orange they are on the inside. These are going to make a really sweet fried pumpkin. Alright guys, so the pumpkin is all chopped up and Auntie Chitra is working on the bhaji or the spinach now. We're using mustard Bhaji, which looks like this. You could honestly use any type of spinach that you have on hand. Sometimes we use the frozen spinach just because it's the easiest option. But today we decided to go with the fresh. So now we're just going to rinse this out really well to get any grit or sand out of it, and then we're going to drain it off so we can start to cook it. So we have our pumpkin, we have our bhaji, we have our dal, we have some katahar, we have mango for some mango curry, and we have our chunks soaking in the corner over there, and we also have some potato that we're going to peel for some potato curry. So go ahead and keep on watching and we'll show you guys how we put all of these delicious dishes together. Alright, so we're going to start off with the dal. In our pot we have some water that's coming up to a boil. Auntie Chitra's going in with the dye or the turmeric. We're going to go in with a few cloves of garlic just so it can boil up and melt when the dal's cooking. And she's also going to add in the salt. And you guys are going to have to add in salt to taste. If you're not making this for prayers or anything, of course you could go in and taste it and just gauge your salt that way. And she's also going in with the dal. And make sure you wash your dal really, really well until the water runs clear.
And check for rocks.
Yep. So we're just going to boil this up until it is soft and nice and smooth. Alright, so while the dal is boiling, we're going to start on the bhaji. So Auntie Chitra is going into our pot with some oil. You could use any type of oil that you want. And she's going to go in with the onions and the scallions now. And scallions are optional. If you don't like to cook with them, you don't have to, but we like the flavor that it adds alongside the onions. So we're going to cook down these onions and these scallions for about 1 to 2 minutes until they're a little bit softened, and then we can go in with our other ingredients and the actual bhaji or spinach. And after about 2 minutes, once the onions and the scallions have cooked down a bit, Auntie Chitra is going to go in with some tomatoes. Now, a little disclaimer, not everybody likes tomatoes in their veggie foods when they're cooking it like this. If you don't like it, feel free to omit it, but if you want to try something new, go ahead and put it in because it adds a really nice flavor to it. Once you add in your tomatoes, you're also going to go in with some garlic. One of the easiest things to do when you're making a whole bunch of different foods like this is to have your pepper and your garlic ground up beforehand, so this way you can throw it in. And Auntie Chitra's just going in with a little bit of pepper because my cousins, all of the younger ones, they're going to be eating all of these foods and they're not a fan of really, really spicy food. And once your tomatoes, onions, and garlic and everything in there have cooked down just a little bit, you're going to go in with your bhaji. As I said before, we're using mustard bhaji today, but if you wanted to use any other type of spinach, feel free to do so. And it may look like a lot, but it's probably going to wilt down to about half of this.
I like the flavor of mustard over spinach.
Me too.
It's such a different flavor.
And once your bhaji melts down a little bit, you're going to go in with some coconut milk. And just depending on how rich you want it, you can add in more or less. This was in the freezer, so we just chopped it up a little bit and we're adding it in. We're going to let it melt and let the rest of this bhaji cook down. Alright, so the bhaji just finished. Auntie Chitra is going to start working on the chunks. So in a little bowl, she's adding in some curry powder. And she's also going to go in with the masala. This is just to make our curry paste to put this, put the brinjal chunks together. And you can make it as dark or as light as you want. We prefer it more on the darker side and to cook it like a dry curry. And we have our onions and scallions ready, and our garlic and pepper ready to go in it as well. Alright, so while Auntie Chitra's adding some water to the dry spices, I'm going to go in with a little bit of oil into the pot and add the onions in. And we're going to add the onions and the scallions at this point. And you're going to fry these up until they cook down just a little bit. So once your onions and scallions have cooked up for a little bit, you're going to go in with your garlic and your hot pepper. And Auntie Chitra's also going to go in with the curry paste that we made. We added some curry powder, masala, and some water, and we made a little paste out of it. Now, if you wanted to, you could mix the garlic and hot pepper with that curry paste. We're just adding it at the same time just because our bowl was a little too small to mix it all in. And we're just going to stir this around and cook it until the oil releases back from the spice mixture and it's dry and grainy. So we're going to go in with just a little bit more oil because as you guys can see, the oil is soaking up really quick into the spice mixture. And for chunks, you do need a good amount of oil so this way it can fry up really well and absorb that curry. So after about 4 minutes, you're going to see that the curry starts to dry up really well. It turns a little grainy and all of the oil starts to release back from the spice mixture. So at this point, Auntie Chitra is going to add in our chunks. And you want to soak your chunks at least 30 minutes before you're going to cook. And once you soak it, you just...
If it's the small one, if it's the bigger one, you want to soak it a longer time and cut them.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, preferably, right? If you like the bigger one, you leave them big. If you like the smaller one, it's...
Yeah, but I guess we like the tiny ones.
Like this.
I don't like the big
Yeah, I don't like
ones.
the bigger...
But as you're putting it into the pot, you're going to go ahead and squeeze all of that excess water out. Just like how Auntie Chitra is doing here. Just squeeze it out until it's really, really dry, and then you put it into the pot.
And try not to get the powder grounds on the bottom because you don't want that. I don't like.
And if you guys don't squeeze it dry enough, what happens is it never really truly soaks up all of that curry, and it stays a little bit watery, which you don't want. So those are the things that you do not want to put in the curry, all those little pieces of the grounds that come from the package. What does it have, like a powdery taste?
No, it breaks down to a powdery, you see in the bottom there?
It just makes it gritty, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't like the taste.
just avoid putting that in if you can.
The big one, I feel it has a different flavor and texture than this, because this is more dense, right? And the bigger one, it's more like airy.
Yeah. You guys leave a comment down below and let me know if any of you guys use that big one, because I really don't see people cooking with that one. And once you start to stir it up, you're going to go in with some salt to taste. So while this is meant to be a very dry curry, like a bunjal style, we do add in a little bit of water just so the spices really cook with the chunks. I almost call that pachoni, but you just stir that up really well, and basically you're gonna allow this water to boil down and dry up, and allow the spices to come back to the chunks, and let it get nice and dry. So as you guys can see, the dal is like starting to melt away a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and use our little dal gutney or swizzle stick and start to swizzle it. Since the dal is done cooking now, we're gonna go ahead and chunk it. So in our little saute pan, we're gonna go in with our oil, and then we're gonna go in with the jeera or the whole cumin seeds. And we're gonna allow those to get just a little brown before we add in the garlic. I just find that this tends to cook much slower than the garlic does. Alright, since our jeera has gotten a little bit brown at this point, we're gonna go in with our chopped garlic. And if you want to chop it up, you could chop it. If you want to slice it, you could slice it. Just do it however you want as per your own preferences. And I think some people also put like a piece of onion to chunk it sometimes. So if you want to, you could do that.
Sometimes if you don't have garlic or you don't like the garlic taste, people put onions.
Okay.
And they would chip it up the same way as the garlic.
Yeah, so you guys could really flavor this however you want. And you just want to keep moving this around until the garlic gets a nice, very dark, almost black color. So once your mixture has gotten a really dark color such as this, you can make it darker if you want. You're going to go ahead and just add it into the dal.
I hear that sizzle. That's when everybody lines up with their plate and dal and roti.
You eat it right away.
That's it, you're ready.
We're just going to stir this up and we're going to cover it back.
Now we're going to leave it uncovered and let it cook the remaining water. Let it dry up. And then at the end we hit it with some fresh scallions and onions on top.
Just to give it a really fresh flavor. And I guess the reason for covering it in the beginning is so the flavors could really soak in to the chunks. I'm just telling you guys, chunks are like basically sponges. So once you squeeze out that water and you put it into your spices or whatever you're cooking it with, it's going to soak it all up. So make sure you flavor it really, really well. So now that the chunks is drying up just a little bit more, Auntie Chitra is going to sprinkle on a little bit of ground cumin or ground jeera. And we like to use the roasted ground jeera versus the just plain cumin that you get from the grocery store. And if you guys checked out one of my last videos where we made the chana and aloo curry, I started using the Mewa brand because they sent me some great spices and we're truly loving how it's cooking the food. So that's what we decided to use for our chunks today. Alright, so we have our oil heating up. We're going to start the katahar now. So once it's hot, you're going to go in with your onions and your scallions. Alright, so for step 2 of the katahar, our onions and the scallions have fried up really well. And we're going to go in with the garlic and hot pepper again. And we're also going to go in with our curry powder and masala mixture. Basically all of the curries start with the same base. And any of the veggie things that we made, like the pumpkin or the bhaji, it's really just some garlic, pepper, onions and scallions, and that's it. And we're just going to continue to fry this down again until the oil starts to release from the mixture and the curry paste has had a chance to cook down really well. And I think Auntie Chitra is going to go in with just a little bit more masala because we want it to be a little darker. But again, make it to your own taste and your preferences.
So I just added salt to the masala because it's easier. Sometimes others will add it to the top. I like it for the katahar to add it to that.
Okay.
And we're using the pre-steamed katahar.
And for any of you guys who don't like to use frozen katahar, you can go ahead and use fresh. But honestly, it's really a lot of work to clean it. So
I mean, if there's lots of hands to work at it, it's fine. If you don't have hands to help clean it or prep it, this is the best option.
yeah.
And sometimes you buy the fresh and it's not good. So
Yeah, there's no really telling like if it's good or not until you cut it open.
right.
So go ahead and give this a try if you haven't yet. It's good and the katahar curry just comes out the same exactly. And also a bonus, this one actually cooks quicker because it's been steamed.
Pre-steamed.
So we're just going to cook it and bunje it in all the spices and allow the spices to soak into it really, really well. So Auntie Chitra was saying that once the katahar dries up a bit and it's no longer releasing any water, you can go ahead and add in your own water to start letting it cook.
And not a lot because it's already pre-cooked. So it's really just to blend the spices back to the katahar.
Yeah. And you also don't want to add too much because we're going to add in coconut milk, so that's
Correct.
extra liquid. And in all honesty, coconut milk is a must for katahar. If you don't have it, it just does not taste right and it tastes very plain and watery.
So we're going to go ahead and add the coconut milk at this point too, so that can get cooked in and marry in with the katahar.
Yep. So we added in some water into our katahar. We're adding in just a little bit more because we found that it sucked up the water really quick. Because remember, all of those seeds still need to finish cooking thoroughly. And at this point, Auntie Chitra is going to go in with some coconut milk. And just a little word of advice, you guys saw that when we were making the bhaji earlier, we used frozen coconut milk. The reason being is because we don't usually get to finish out the can of coconut milk when we make a dish like this. We only use about half here. So that'll go into the freezer and it'll be used for another dish another time.
And it's just as good.
Yeah. So we're just going to stir this up now and allow it to bubble up. Maybe we need to add a little touch more water. And we'll cover this and we'll allow it to boil and finish cooking. Alright, so while our katahar is bubbling away, we're going to start on the pumpkin. And the pumpkin is actually the second to last thing that we're going to finish up. So we're just going with some oil into our heavy bottom skillet. And Auntie Chitra is going to go in with the sliced onion and the scallions again. Again, it's the same base for all of these different dishes. And we're going to allow this to fry up until they get a little bit translucent as well. Once those onions and the scallions have cooked down a bit, we're also going to go in with our garlic and the hot pepper. Again, use more hot pepper if you like. Just all of the kids around here, they're going to be eating it, so we want them to enjoy it as well.
You know, once this cooks for like 2 minutes, then we'll add the pumpkin.
Okay.
Because you don't want that garlic to burn.
Yeah. And you guys remember too, once you add these veggies in, they're going to continue to frying. So you don't need to overcook these seasonings in the beginning. And just an idea for all of you, it's a matter of preference. If you like to make green seasoning and cook with that, you could put it in the beginning when you make all of these different dishes.
Yeah.
We just like to make it the simple way though. We don't put a whole bunch of stuff in it.
Especially the chunks.
Yeah.
Like if we had fresh bandana, we would have put that in it. But we didn't have it, so that's okay.
Alright, so once your garlic and the pepper has had like just about 30 seconds to a minute to fry up, you're going to go in with all of your pumpkin. As I said before, we're using butternut squash today. That's because that's what we had on hand. But if you can find the actual large pumpkins that are cut, you could use that as well.
And we want to say thank you to Auntie Chandra's garden for this pumpkin.
Yep. Auntie Chandra's been growing a whole bunch of stuff. If you guys recently saw my fried squash video, that huge squash is from her garden as well, and there was so much more that she had. Alright, so Auntie Chandra went in with some salt as well as some black pepper, and now we're going to go in with just a little bit of ground jeera. Now, this is totally optional. If you don't like to put any other spices in your pumpkin, you don't have to. So just going to stir it around, cover it, and allow it to continue cooking. Alright guys, so our katahar curry is all done. It looks really good. It has a nice color to it. And we're just going to take it off the heat because we don't want it to dry up too much. And all you're looking for is for those seeds to be done cooking on the inside. And
as a pointer, it may look like it has a lot of water left, but as it cools, it thickens up and tightens up.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, the katahar is gonna absorb it.
The same goes for the potato curry. You want to take it off while it still has a lot of gravy, because once you're ready to serve it or once you're ready to eat it, it will be very, very thick. And as you guys can see, it just mashed easily like that. That's how you know that it's done. So we're going to start on the aloo curry or the potato curry. Auntie Chitra's going in with some oil. And she's also going to go in with the usual, the onions, the scallions, and her curry paste. Alright, so at this point, once the onions cook down a little bit, Auntie Chitra's going to go in with the curry paste. And she added in the garlic into it, so it could be in there at the same time. And just like the rest, you want to cook it really well, so this way the spices cook out and they're not raw anymore, and then we can add the potatoes on top of it. And once the oil begins leaving the spice mixture again, we're going to go in with our potatoes. And these really don't need a bunje with all the spices. You could just add your water in as soon as you mix it up, and then allow them to boil until they're nice and soft. Then Auntie Chitra is also going to go in with a little bit of salt to taste. So we're just checking up on the aloo curry now. As you guys can see, they're almost done. They just need a few more minutes. The gravy's starting to get nice and thick, getting to how we want it. Alright guys, all of the curries are done except for the mango curry, so we'll cook that in a few minutes. We just wanted to get started on some of the sweets. So we're making puri and lapsi, so we're going to do the puri part. We have our Bidesi 5-rose flour and the ghee, so we're going to use that to put our puri together today. So Auntie Chitra's going to start by putting the flour into the bowl. After she takes off all her jewelry.
Sorry.
Alright, so Auntie Chitra really doesn't measure. We're just averaging for the most part. But that's about 3 cups of flour or more that she's going to put in now. We'll call it like 5 cups of flour.
Yeah, that's a good estimate.
And now she's going to go in with a little bit of ghee. And if you wanted to, you could put in a little bit of sugar. We put it sometimes we don't put it.
Really just a touch. Nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a difference in the taste.
Yeah.
I think it's more of just a habit
Preference,
thing.
yeah, a lot of people put it. I think that's enough. What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, I think that's good. So she's just going to mix that ghee in and allow it to get nice and crumbly. And then we'll mix our milk in once it gets crumbly. So at this point, once the ghee is mixed in really, really well, you're going to go in with your milk. This is honestly a preference thing. Some people like to mix their puri with water. Some people like to do it with milk. I guess we just like things extra rich. So we've always done it with milk. But it's all up to your own preference. You could even mix it milk and water if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. And what we're looking for is something a little stiffer than a roti dough, I think. You don't want it too soft. Right?
Mm-hmm. Well, when you knead it, it should bounce back to you like a bread consistency.
Yeah.
How the flat bread.
So like a semi-soft dough. Mm-hmm. Nothing too soft or too hard. Yeah. So once you guys get enough flour mixed in, you're just going to keep on kneading it until it's nice and smooth and until it bounces back at you. Now, Auntie Chitra thinks that the best way to do this is by putting it on the counter and just kneading it that way. I personally think it's easier on your hands versus then using it in the bowl.
Yeah. Shit. Mm-hmm. You're making your puri. Yeah, and do everything. Like me?
Look who decided to show up now.
Hi guys! Auntie Chandra's here with my other half. This is the better half. That's like the other half. I'm my 2 little brats. Yeah. I heard they were cooking.
She was supposed to be here since the first curry started cooking.
Sorry, I was working and you know how it goes, right? Like, Matthew. Okay, excuse. Okay, thank you.
Alright everyone, this puri is done kneading. As you guys can see, it's nice and bouncy. And yeah, it's ready to cut and ready to roll out to cook.
Way to go, Auntie Chitra. Thanks.
Auntie Chitra makes the best puri.
Yes, your puri does come out very well.
Now, we're not going to go really in depth on how to make the puri. There's multiple videos on my channel, especially where I'm showing Auntie Chitra make her puri. So we're just going to show you guys a little overview. So this is the puri, guys. It's being rolled out. We're almost done having it rolled out. We've got most of it over here already rolled out. Once it's all rolled out, we can start the frying process.
I'm so glad you're here to help.
Yeah.
We're gonna make biscuit or puri? Take it out.
Alright guys, so once you finish rolling out your puri, you're going to take pairs of it, put it into the ghee, and then as soon as you put it in, wait about 5 to 10 seconds, flip it over, and then you go ahead and take it out. This cooks for maybe less than 30 seconds, because they're so thin.
Out.
Chitra.
Yes, Chandra. You're taking too long. Then you're gonna crisp up at the edges.
If you burn me. Well, you should take closer to me. Oh my god. I'm working with the warden here.
Who put she there? She could squeeze out all the puri. Non-puri on the left.
Put it. I'm making it healthy for you guys.
Now once you get the puri out of the oil, you just want to lay it on some paper towels, and you want to have somebody next to you dabbing the rest of them, so this way you can get off all of that extra oil. And then you can go ahead and
It's
stack
not gonna crisp up. If it comes out crispy, that
Okay, flip it.
Jalapeno frying puri. Who does ever get jalapeno fried puri?
Yeah, when you're not doing it right.
Huh? Look, I'm doing it. Look. Oh. Look, it's fried, done.
It's done.
I like to cut the hard chunks and pumpkin and on them.
Ooh,
Right?
lovely.
Alright everyone, we're going to start making the mango curry. The mango curry was the last of what we needed to finish. So I'm going to go in with some oil. And I'm also going to go in with my onions and my scallions that we had chopped up. So now that the onions and the scallions have cooked up for a little bit, we're going to go in with our curry paste that we made. So this is a little bit different than just curry and masala. We also have a little bit of amchar masala in there to give it that taste that mango curry is known for. And while it may not be a traditional Guyanese thing, this is the way that we prefer it. So we're going to put that in. And I'm also going to go in with the garlic and the hot pepper that we had ground earlier. So while this is frying up, I'm going to go in with the salt to taste. And I'm also going to go in with just a little bit of sugar. And this is what you're sort of going to have to taste it as you go to see if you want to add more or not.
Not looking for a sweet curry.
Yeah. Unless you really like a sweet curry, I guess.
Yeah.
It's up to your preference. A little bit more. So we're adding in about 2 tablespoons maybe.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to see how to put this together step by step, I have a video on my channel already that you can reference. So once all these spices cook up really well, and then you see it starts to catch a little bit at the bottom, you're going to add in the mangoes. And you're just gonna stir it, get it all coated up, and allow it to fry up or bunjay with all the spices. Alright, so once you see that the mango starts to catch a little bit at the bottom and it's had a chance to sear with all of those spices, you're gonna go in with just a little bit of water so it can cook the mangoes down. These were frozen green mangoes, so we didn't need to, we don't need to add too much water because they're gonna cook pretty fast. Alright guys, this is the halfway point for the mango curry. As you guys can see, the mangoes have started to cook down a little bit.
Thickening up.
Yeah, and the gravy started to thicken. And honestly, it just depends on how you like it. If you like a really thick gravy, you can let it thicken up. Or if you want to add more water to make it a little more watery, you could do that as well. Alright everyone, so we have our ghee melting. We're going to make a little bit of parsad. So in the pot with the ghee, we're going to go in with our all-purpose flour. And Auntie Chandra is going to stir as I'm adding it in. And if you guys want to see how to make this in depth, then you could check it out on my channel. I'll try to have all of the different recipe videos linked in the description box below so you could check them all out step by step. So we're just going to keep on parching this or roasting it within the ghee and allow it to do that for maybe about 15 to 20 minutes or until it is nice and brown. Alright everybody, so the parsad mixture is done parching. As you guys can see, it's a nice brown color. If you like it darker than this, you could do it darker, and if you like it lighter than this, you could actually cook it for a little less time. But I have my hot milk mixture with the sugar that I already prepared. And at this point, we're going to go in with all of the milk. And we're going to go in with the raisins and cherries. And you guys got to be careful while you're doing this because it will pitch up a lot. So the last thing that we're making today is some lapsi. The parsad is done. And all we're doing is starting off by parching the flour. Again, if you want to see how to make this recipe on my channel, I'll have it linked in the description box below. So you could just click on that and see how to make it step by step. But I'll give you guys this quick little overview now. Alright, so once your flour is all parched and it is cooked through, we're going to go ahead and put it through a fine mesh strainer to get out any of the lumps. Alright, so once you put your flour in the bowl and it cools off just slightly, you're going to go in with your sugar. Now, some people like to use granulated sugar, some people like to use brown sugar, just depending on their color preference. Just know that the darker sugar that you use, the darker your lapsi will be. And once you add in the sugar, you just want to keep mixing until the flour is cooled completely, because you cannot add in the milk while the flour is warm at all. So once you mix your flour with the sugar and it cools off completely, you can start to add in your evaporated milk. Some people use evaporated and whole milk, some people use whole milk or whatever kind of mixture that you want. Some people make it with water, but we do not like to make it with that because then it has no taste. We're going to keep on adding it in, and you just want to keep stirring it you know, vigorously to get out any lumps. And a word of advice, don't dump in all of your milk at one time. Dump it in increments, so this way you can get it worked in a little bit. Alright, so once you get the milk mixed in with the flour mixture really well and you don't see any lumps, you're going to heat a little bit of ghee in your pot, and you're going to go ahead and strain the mixture back in. And you just want to do this again just to have a precautionary measure and get all of those little tiny lumps out there, so you can have a really nice smooth and creamy lapsi. And as soon as you add it into there, you just want to keep on stirring and whisking until it comes together and it's nice and thick. So as you guys can see, the lapsi has started to form really, really quick. As you guys can see, it has a few little lumps here and there, but it's totally fine. We're going to go in with our raisins now. And you want to make sure that you soak the raisins before you make this, or else they will pop and then they'll just mash up inside. So we could switch to a spoon now actually, and we'll add in our raisins. I also went in with a cinnamon stick just for a little bit of added flavor. So at this point, we're just going to stir it up, take it off the heat, and everything is ready to serve. Alright everybody, so here it is, the finished product. We wanted to unveil everything to you guys at once. We have our rice, we have our dal, we have our katahar, we have our chunks, our bunjal chunks, we have our aloo or potato curry, we have the pumpkin in the back, we have our mango curry in the front, we have our bhaji cooked down in coconut milk, and our sweets, we made some pera. You guys saw that at the beginning of the video. We just made our parsad, and our lapsi was the last thing to finish alongside our puri. So this is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys get in your kitchens to go ahead and try some of these dishes out. All right, everybody, so we really hope you enjoyed that video. I want to thank Auntie Chitra, Auntie Chandra, and Auntie Kanita for helping me in the kitchen today, whether it was helping put together the food or washing dishes as we went. But this is a delicious spread. We can't wait to get into it and start tasting. So if you guys enjoyed, please go ahead and give this video a nice big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet, and come join the Matthew's Guyanese cooking family. And of course, keep leaving your amazing comments down below. And I'll see you guys again in another one of my videos. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm so glad I helped you.